Hey folks, welcome back. Have you ever wondered if a woman is developing feelings for you before she even says it? The truth is, women often reveal their emotions not through direct words, but through subtle changes in the way they talk to you. It's almost like a secret language, one that, once you understand, will change how you see attraction forever. Psychologists have long studied the connection between language and emotional attachment. Dr. John Gottman, a leading expert in relationships, found that the way people communicate can be a strong predictor of their emotional investment. Women, in particular, unconsciously use certain phrases that hint at their growing feelings before they ever say, "I like you." So, if you've been wondering whether she sees you as more than just a friend, the clues are already there. All you need to do is pay attention to the words she chooses, the way she frames her sentences, and the emotions behind them. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to listen for, and trust me, the last one on this list is the most powerful. When you hear her say it, you'll know without a doubt that she's falling for you. So stick around, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and let's dive right in. Number 1, the feeling of instant connection. Hey folks, have you ever had someone tell you, "I feel like I've known you forever"? At first, it might just seem like a sweet compliment, but in reality, this phrase carries much deeper meaning, especially when it comes from a woman who's developing feelings for you. This isn't just small talk. This is her subconscious trying to express a deep emotional bond, one that feels effortless and natural. So why does this happen? Psychologists have found that emotional attachment isn't just built over time. It's also triggered when someone feels truly understood. Dr. John Gottman's research shows that women, in particular, develop deeper connections with those who make them feel emotionally safe. When a woman tells you she feels like she's known you forever, what she's really saying is that you've made her feel so comfortable, so naturally at ease, that her brain starts skipping the formalities of time. It's as if you've already built trust without even trying. Think about it. Have you ever met someone and, within just a few conversations, you felt like you could tell them anything? That's what's happening here. She's associating you with familiarity, with warmth, and most importantly, with trust. And trust, my friends, is the foundation of attraction. So, what does this look like in real life? Let's say you've been talking to her for a few weeks, maybe even just a few days. Out of nowhere, she looks at you and says, "It's so weird, but I feel like I've known you forever." Now, she might laugh it off or say it casually, but don't ignore it, because this is a confession. Her subconscious mind is telling her that you've already become a significant presence in her world. And here's the key. How you respond to this moment matters. Most guys don't realize what's happening and just brush it off with a simple, "Oh, that's cool." But if you want to reinforce this connection, you need to lean into it, playfully tease her. So, are you saying we were soulmates in another life? Or if you want to deepen the bond, respond with warmth. That's really sweet. I feel the same way. By doing this, you validate her emotions while keeping the conversation light and engaging. The goal is to acknowledge the emotional connection without making it overly serious too soon. Now, let's go even deeper. Why do some people make us feel like we've known them forever? Psychologically, this happens when two people share similar energies, values, or ways of thinking. It's why you sometimes click with certain people instantly, while with others, it takes months or even years to feel close. When a woman expresses this instant connection with you, she's recognizing a sense of emotional alignment, a shared rhythm that makes everything feel easy and natural. And here's where it gets interesting. The more she feels this way, the more she will want to be around you. This feeling of familiarity makes her crave your presence. It makes her want to open up more, spend more time with you, and, most importantly, trust you with her emotions. And once trust is there, attraction follows naturally. But here's a crucial mistake most guys make. When a woman starts expressing this kind of emotional closeness, some guys overreact. They either get too excited and start pushing for more commitment too soon, or they freak out and pull away, thinking it's too much, too fast. The key here is balance. If you're interested in her, match her energy. Let her know you appreciate the connection, but also keep things fun and easygoing. If you're not interested in her in a romantic way, acknowledge the moment without leading her on. Either way, your response will shape the next phase of the relationship. So, what should you take away from this? If a woman tells you she feels like she's known you forever, don't take it lightly. This is a big indicator that she's emotionally investing in you. Recognize it. Respond in a way that strengthens the bond. And most importantly, pay attention to what she says next. Because the deeper the connection, the more signs she'll start showing. Speaking of which, there's another phrase women say when their feelings start growing, and this one might surprise you. But before we get into that, I want to hear from you. Have you ever had someone tell you they feel like they've known you forever? Drop a comment below and let me know your experience. And if you're finding this insight valuable, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on the next part of this conversation. Now, let's keep going. Because the next phrase is something that can completely shift the dynamic between you and her. Number 2, you're one of my closest friends. What she really means. All right, Stoic friends. Let's talk about something that confuses a lot of guys. You're talking to a woman. Everything seems to be going great. And then she drops this on you. You're one of my closest friends. Now, I know what you're thinking. Wait, did she just friend zone me? But hold on, because this phrase, it doesn't always mean what you think it does. Most guys panic when they hear this. They assume it's a dead end, a polite way of saying, I don't see you that way. But what if I told you that, in many cases, this phrase actually means she's developing a deep emotional connection with you. And that's the foundation of real attraction. See, women don't fall for men the same way men fall for women. For guys, attraction can be instant, based on looks, chemistry, or a simple spark. But for women, it's different. They need emotional security before attraction fully develops. If she tells you you're one of her closest friends, she's letting you know that you make her feel safe, comfortable, and emotionally connected. And that's huge. Think about it. Women don't open up to just anyone. If she's sharing her personal thoughts, telling you about her struggles, or confiding in you about things she wouldn't tell most people, she's emotionally investing in you. She may not even realize it yet, but she's already built an attachment. So, here's the mistake most guys make. They hear, you're one of my closest friends, and immediately assume they've been locked in the dreaded friend zone. They either pull away, trying to act distant to change her mind, or they get frustrated and try to force the dynamic into something romantic. Both of these approaches are completely wrong. Instead, the smartest thing you can do is lean into the connection. When she tells you this, don't react with disappointment. Instead, stay cool. Keep the confidence. If anything, this is your opportunity to deepen the attraction rather than sabotage it. Let's say she looks at you and says, I feel like I can tell you anything. You're one of my closest friends. Most guys freeze up. But you respond with something simple and effortless. That's awesome. I think the best relationships are built on a strong friendship. See what happened there? You didn't panic. You didn't act desperate. Instead, You subtly planted the idea that great relationships come from emotional closeness. That single shift in mindset makes all the difference. But here's where it gets even more interesting. If she's emotionally invested in you, she's going to test your value. She might talk about another guy, just to see how you react. She might try to push the boundaries of your connection, trying to figure out if she's the only one feeling this emotional closeness. And that's exactly why you need to stay centered. Never react emotionally. Never act jealous. Never try to prove anything. The more unshaken you remain, the more she realizes that you're not just a friend. You're someone she could actually fall for. And let's not forget one major thing. Sometimes women say, "You're my closest friend," as a defense mechanism, because admitting romantic feelings is risky. But if she's always texting you first, making excuses to spend time with you, or showing subtle signs of jealousy when you mention other women, then trust me, she doesn't just see you as a friend. Attraction isn't about chasing. It's about positioning yourself in a way where she starts seeing you differently. And the best way to do that is to remain confident, stay emotionally strong, and let the connection build naturally. Now, here's something even more revealing. There's another phrase women say when their emotions are shifting toward something more. And when you hear this one, you'll know you're no longer just a friend. You're something much more. But before we dive into that, I want to hear from you. Have you ever been in a situation where a woman called you her closest friend, but you felt like there was more to it? What happened? Let's talk about it in the comments. And hey, if you're enjoying this breakdown, make sure you're subscribed. We're just getting started. Now, let's move on, because the next phrase is even more telling. Number 3. You're so different from other guys. What she's really saying. You ever had a woman look at you and say, "You're not like other guys"? At first, it might seem like a casual compliment, but trust me, there's a lot more behind that statement than you might think. When a woman tells you this, she's not just making small talk. She's recognizing something in you that sets you apart in a way that makes you more attractive to her. Women don't just randomly say things like this. When she calls you different, she's subconsciously signaling that you've broken past the usual expectations she has for men. That's a big deal, because attraction isn't just about looks or status. It's about how you make her feel. Think about it. Women are constantly interacting with men, whether at work, social gatherings, or online. They hear the same pickup lines, the same surface-level conversations, and deal with the same kind of predictable behavior over and over. But when she starts to see you as someone unique, someone who doesn't fit the mold of the average guy she's met before, that's when you become interesting to her on a much deeper level. So what exactly is happening in her mind when she says this? She's comparing you, even if she doesn't realize it. She's stacking you up against all the other guys who tried to impress her. And in her eyes, you're coming out ahead. Maybe it's because you actually listen instead of just waiting for your turn to talk. Maybe it's because you don't immediately try to impress her with some over-the-top flex. But instead, you make her feel comfortable just by being yourself. Now, here's where a lot of guys mess this up. When they hear a woman say, "You're so different," they either downplay it or they start over-explaining themselves, trying too hard to prove they really are different. And that's the wrong move. Instead of doing that, take a step back and let her lean into that feeling. If she says, "You're not like most guys," don't just say, "Oh, thanks," and leave it there. Keep the conversation going. Make her think about what exactly makes you different. A simple response like, "That's interesting. What makes you say that?" makes her verbalize what she likes about you. And here's the trick. When someone has to explain why they feel a certain way, it actually reinforces that feeling even more. She's now convincing herself that you're unique, that you stand out in a way other men don't. Let's say you're on a date, and she suddenly tells you, "I don't know why, but you're not like other guys I've met." If you just brush it off, you miss the opportunity to deepen the attraction. Instead, you could tease her a bit, something like, "Should I take that as a good thing, or are you saying I'm weird?" Playful, light, and it keeps her engaged. Here's another thing to keep in mind. Women don't just feel attraction because of what you say, but because of how you make them feel. If she sees you as someone different, it's likely because you're doing things most guys don't. Maybe you're more present in the conversation, or you have a certain level of confidence without arrogance. Maybe you challenge her thinking instead of just agreeing with everything she says. Whatever it is, when she labels you as different, take it as a sign that you're on the right track. But don't let it get to your head. Stay consistent. Keep being the guy who stands out effortlessly, not because you're trying too hard, but because you know exactly who you are. And listen, this is just one of the many ways women reveal their growing attraction without saying it directly. There's another phrase they use that's even more telling, one that shows she's not just interested, but that she's emotionally invested. We'll get into that next. But before we do, I want to hear from you. Has a woman ever told you, "You're different from other guys"? What did you say back? Drop a comment below. I read every single one. And if you've made it this far, don't forget to subscribe. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Number 4. I feel like I can be myself around you. What it really means. All right, Stoic friends, let's break down another powerful phrase that reveals when a woman is developing deep feelings for you. I feel like I can be myself around you. At first glance, it might seem like a simple, casual statement, but don't be fooled. This is one of the most significant signs of emotional attachment. And if you understand what's really going on here, you'll start seeing attraction in a completely new way. See, most of the time, people put up a front. They wear a social mask, carefully curating how they act, what they say, and how they present themselves, especially around people they don't fully trust yet. Women do this even more than men, because, for them, emotional security is everything. But when a woman tells you that she can be herself around you, she's letting you in. She's saying, "I don't feel like I have to impress you. I don't feel like I have to hide who I really am." And that level of comfort, it's rare. It means you've created a space where she feels safe to drop the act and just exist as her real, unfiltered self. Psychologists call this authenticity bonding. It's the deep human need to feel accepted without pretense. And let me tell you, when a woman reaches this level with you, she's already emotionally invested, whether she's admitted it yet or not. Think about it. Have you ever noticed a woman who starts acting more playful, silly, or even vulnerable around you? Maybe she stops wearing as much makeup, shares embarrassing stories, or lets out her unfiltered laugh instead of the polite, controlled one she usually gives in social settings. This is her testing the emotional waters. She wants to know, can I be my true self with this guy? Will he still like me if I stop trying so hard? And if the answer is yes, if you make her feel accepted and understood, then congratulations. You've just built a level of connection that most men never achieve. So, how do you respond when she says this? Most guys don't realize the importance of this moment, so they just shrug it off with something like, "That's cool," or "I like that." But you're smarter than that. Instead, acknowledge it in a way that strengthens the emotional bond. A simple but powerful response would be, "That's the best compliment you could give me." Why? Because it tells her that you value the connection just as much as she does. It reassures her that you're not judging, that you enjoy who she truly is. And guess what? That only deepens her feelings for you. Now, here's something even more interesting. When a woman feels safe enough to be herself around you, she'll start testing you in subtle ways. She might show you her quirks, act goofy, or even playfully tease you. She wants to see if you'll match her energy, if you'll embrace her unfiltered side instead of making her feel self-conscious. For example, let's say you're hanging out, and she suddenly does something silly. Maybe a weird dance move, a goofy voice, or a completely random comment. And then she looks at you, waiting to see your reaction. That moment is a test. She's checking, will he judge me for this? Or will he just roll with it? If you react with judgment or indifference, she might shut down. But if you match her energy, if you laugh, play along, or tease her back, it creates an even stronger bond. She feels truly accepted, and that's when her attraction skyrockets. And here's the real kicker. When a woman starts being her raw, unfiltered self around you, she's already emotionally attached. She might not have put it into words yet, but her subconscious mind already sees you as someone she doesn't want to lose. Now, before we move on, I want you to think about this. Has a woman ever told you, "I feel like I can be myself around you"? How did you react? Did you brush it off? Or did you reinforce that connection? Let's talk about it in the comments. And if you've made it this far, you're serious about understanding attraction on a deeper level. So don't forget to subscribe, because in the next section, we're breaking down another powerful phrase that reveals even more about how a woman truly feels. Stay tuned. Number 5. You make me feel seen and heard. The hidden power of emotional validation. All right, Stoic friends, let's talk about one of the most powerful yet underrated phrases a woman can say when she's developing feelings for you. You make me feel seen and heard. Now, this might sound like a simple compliment, but trust me, this phrase carries a massive emotional weight, one that most men completely overlook. See, attraction isn't just about looks, status, or confidence. Those things might catch a woman's eye, but what keeps her emotionally invested is something much deeper, the feeling of being truly understood. Women are natural communicators. They don't just talk to fill the silence, they talk to connect. And when a woman tells you that you make her feel seen and heard, what she's really saying is, you understand me in a way that most people don't. Now, let's break this down. Have you ever had a conversation where you felt like the other person just got you, where they weren't just waiting for their turn to speak, but were actually listening, fully engaged, making you feel like your words mattered? That's exactly what this phrase means to a woman. Studies in psychology, including research from Psychology Today, have found that emotional validation is one of the strongest factors in long-term attraction. When a woman feels heard, valued, and emotionally safe, she begins to form an emotional bond, one that goes beyond just physical attraction. So, how do you know if a woman feels this way about you? Well, you might notice that she opens up more than usual, sharing personal stories, her fears, dreams, and emotions. Maybe she tells you about her childhood, her ambitions, or something she's struggling with, things she doesn't casually share with just anyone. And then, after a deep conversation, she says it. I love talking to you. You actually listen. At that moment, she's revealing her emotional attachment. Now, let's talk about the biggest mistake men make when they hear this. A lot of guys downplay it. They just nod and say, yeah, of course. Or even worse, they shift the conversation away, not realizing that this is a golden opportunity to deepen the connection. So, if you ever hear a woman say, you make me feel seen and heard, how should you respond? First, acknowledge it. Say something like, That's really important to me. I think the best connections happen when both people feel truly understood. Why does this work? Because it reinforces the emotional safety she already feels. And guess what? That makes her even more drawn to you. But here's the thing. It's not just about what you say, it's about how you listen. If you want a woman to feel seen and heard, you have to actually be present when she talks. That means putting your phone away when she's telling you something important. Not interrupting or rushing to give advice. Sometimes she just wants to be understood, not fixed. Remembering the little details she shares and bringing them up later, this shows her that you actually care. For example, imagine she tells you about a stressful work project, and a few days later, you ask, "Hey, how did that presentation go?" That small moment? It cements the emotional connection in her mind. And here's where it gets even more interesting. The more emotionally validated a woman feels, the more she craves your presence. Why? Because most people go through life feeling unheard, misunderstood, and disconnected. But if you're the person who makes her feel different, who makes her feel truly understood, you become irreplaceable. Now, before we move on, I want you to think about this. Have you ever been in a conversation where you felt genuinely understood? How did it change the way you saw that person? Let's talk about it in the comments. And if you're finding value in this, make sure to subscribe, because in the next section, we're diving into another powerful phrase that reveals even deeper emotional investment. Stay tuned. Number 6. I feel a deep connection with you. The moment she gets emotionally attached. All right, Stoic friends, this is where things get serious. When a woman says, "I feel a deep connection with you," she's not just making conversation, she's revealing something incredibly rare and meaningful. This is the moment when attraction moves beyond surface-level chemistry and turns into something deeper, something that actually lasts. Now, let's break this down. In today's world, people are constantly meeting new faces, swiping left and right, engaging in shallow interactions. But deep connections, those are rare. When a woman tells you she feels a deep connection, she's acknowledging something she doesn't experience with just anyone. It means she sees you as more than just a fun conversation or a fleeting attraction. You've tapped into something deeper. But here's the key. What does a deep connection actually mean? See, a connection isn't just about talking for hours or having things in common. It's about emotional resonance. It's that feeling of being completely understood without having to explain yourself. It's when two people's energies align in a way that feels effortless, comforting, and real. Psychologists refer to this as emotional attunement, the ability to truly understand and feel in sync with another person's emotions. Studies have shown that strong emotional connections are what make relationships thrive, even more than physical attraction. So how do you know if a woman feels this way about you? You'll notice subtle but powerful signs. She starts bringing up past conversations, remembering little details you shared, because those moments mattered to her. She shares deep personal stories, her childhood, her dreams, even her fears, because she trusts you. She starts mirroring your energy, adapting to your pace, feeling naturally drawn into your presence. And then, one day, she says it. "I don't know why, but I feel this deep connection with you." Now, this is where most men mess up. They hear this and downplay it. They get awkward, shrug it off, or respond with something generic like, "Oh, that's nice." Big mistake. This is a pivotal moment. If she's brave enough to verbalize it, it means she's feeling it intensely. And if you respond the right way, you can deepen the connection even further. So, how should you respond? Instead of just nodding, acknowledge it in a way that reinforces her emotions. Say something like, "I think deep connections like this are rare, and I really appreciate ours." Or, if you want to keep it playful, while still validating her emotions, "Well, I guess that makes us lucky." Connections like this don't happen every day. Why does this work? Because it makes her feel safe in her emotions. When a woman expresses a deep connection and you acknowledge it with warmth and confidence, it makes her even more emotionally drawn to you. But here's something even more powerful. You don't just want to acknowledge the connection, you want to strengthen it. So here's what you do next. Create meaningful moments together. The stronger the emotional memories you build, the deeper the connection becomes. Be present. When you're with her, give her your full attention. That means no distractions, no half-hearted conversations, just pure presence. Don't rush it. A deep connection isn't something you force. It's something that naturally grows when two people feel truly comfortable around each other. And let me tell you, once a woman feels this kind of connection, she won't want to let it go. So, have you ever experienced this before? That moment when you felt completely in sync with someone, like you just got each other? Drop a comment below and let's talk about it. And if you're enjoying this, hit that subscribe button, because next up, we're diving into another phrase that reveals even deeper emotional investment. Stick around, you won't want to miss this. Number 7. I can talk to you about anything. The sign of emotional compatibility. All right, Stoic friends, let's talk about something powerful yet often overlooked. When a woman says, "I can talk to you about anything," at first, this might sound similar to when she says she feels a deep connection, but trust me, there's a difference. When she talks about a deep connection, she's referring to emotional resonance, that strong pull where two people just get each other. But when she says, "I can talk to you about anything," she's talking about something even more rare, emotional compatibility. And let me tell you, this is what leads to long-term attraction. Think about it. There are plenty of people we like, maybe even feel connected to, but how many people can we truly talk to without fear of judgment? How many people can we share our thoughts with, no matter how random, deep, or silly, and still feel completely safe? That's what she's saying here. She's telling you that with you, she doesn't have to filter her thoughts. She doesn't have to hold back or overthink her words. She feels safe. She feels free. And if you understand the psychology behind attraction, you'll know when a woman feels emotionally free around you, she will never want to lose that. Now, let's break this down. How do you know when a woman feels this way about you? Look for these clear signs. She texts you random thoughts, out of nowhere, things she doesn't necessarily need to share, but just wants to tell you. She asks for your opinion on personal matters, not because she needs advice, but because she values how you think. She starts revealing personal struggles, not for validation, but because she knows you'll understand. And then, one day, she says it. "I don't know why, but I feel like I can talk to you about anything." Now, this is where most guys get it wrong. They hear this and dismiss it. They say something neutral like, "That's cool," or "Glad to hear that." But you're smarter than that. You know this is a golden moment. So, how should you respond? Here's what you do. Playfully say, "Even the weirdest things?" And then, when she laughs and says yes, you reinforce the emotional bond by adding something like, "That's important." I think the best relationships, whether friendships or more, are built on that kind of openness. Why does this work? Because it subtly reinforces the idea that deep conversations lead to deep relationships. You're planting the seed that what you have is special, something she won't want to lose. But here's something even more powerful. You don't just acknowledge emotional compatibility, you strengthen it. So here's what you do next. Encourage her openness. Ask her thoughts on different things, serious topics, funny ones, even completely random ideas. The more she expresses herself freely, the more emotionally invested she becomes. Match her energy. If she's sharing deep thoughts, engage with depth. If she's being playful, meet her there. Emotional compatibility is about being able to flow naturally together. Make her feel heard. Don't just listen. Engage. Remember what she says. Bring it up later and show her that her words matter to you. And here's the truth. Once a woman feels this kind of compatibility, she won't find it anywhere else. So tell me, Stoic friends, have you ever had a connection where you could talk to someone about anything without fear of judgment? Drop a comment below and let's talk about it. Bonus point. I miss you. The ultimate sign of emotional attachment. All right, Stoic friends, we've covered a lot of powerful signs so far, but this is on another level. When a woman says, I miss you, especially when you haven't even been apart for long, that's huge. Let's be real. People don't just miss anyone. Missing someone means they've become a part of your thoughts, your emotions, and your day. It means their presence has left an imprint on you. And in the world of psychology, this is a massive sign of emotional attachment. Here's what's happening when a woman says this. She's not just saying words. She's revealing her emotional state. Her subconscious is telling her, I feel emotionally connected to you. Your presence brings me comfort. And psychology backs this up. Studies show that emotional bonds form when someone associates happiness, security, and excitement with your presence. So let's break this down. How do you know when this is real? Maybe you spent the evening together, and the next day she randomly texts you, I miss you. Maybe you've only been apart for a few days, and she says, it feels like forever since I've seen you. Or maybe, in the middle of a conversation, she suddenly says, I don't know why, but I miss you even when you're not around. That's the moment, because now she's realizing your absence affects her. So, how do you respond? Most guys either downplay it or overreact, and that's where they go wrong. Here's what you do instead. Keep it warm and simple. Say something like, that's sweet, I miss you too. Playfully tease her. Say, already? I was hoping to make you miss me at least a little longer. Acknowledge the bond. Say, that's a good sign, right? And let her confirm it. Why does this work? Because when you confirm her feelings, it strengthens the emotional connection. It makes her feel safe in her emotions. And here's something even more powerful. When you don't always respond right away, when you let her sit with that feeling of missing you just a little longer, that's when she realizes just how much she values you. Because the truth is, when a woman starts to miss you, when she starts feeling your absence, that connection only grows stronger. So tell me, Stoic friends, have you ever had someone tell you they miss you in a way that made you realize just how much you meant to them? Drop a comment below and let's talk about it. All right, Stoic friends, that's a wrap for today's video. Now you know the subtle but powerful signs that reveal a woman's true feelings before she ever says it outright. The question is, have you noticed any of these before? Drop a comment below and let's talk about it. If you found value in this video, don't forget to hit that like button. It helps more than you know. And if you're not already part of this community, subscribe now for more insights on relationships, attraction, and Stoic wisdom. And before you go, we've got another powerful video lined up for you. It's right here on your screen. Go watch it now, and I'll see you over there.